Griffith Park. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I always get confused between the Griffin Park, the Huntington Park, and the Elysian Park. I always get confused with those parks.
Oh wow!
So yesterday, when you were saying Griffin Park, I have no idea where that is. So.
Yeah. Oh really? Yeah. Oh, it's in East Hollywood. It's like you've never been to Griffith Park?
Oh, it's where they have the observatory, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Griffith Park.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
Although it's a little far from here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it took me like 30 minutes to get over here because I live in that area. So.
Yeah, when you said that you now live close to me, I was like, I don't think you live closer to me now.
I thought you lived in like near LACC for some reason.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna say this in Spanish because honestly, this is going to be my first episode en English. Yeah. So, este va a ser uno de los episodios en inglés. Bienvenidos al canal. Para los que saben inglés y español, bienvenidos. Y para los que no saben inglés, luego les estaré dando como un review de lo que fue el episodio. And so I wanted to talk to you about your book. How is that going? When you posted it on Instagram, I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
That's something interesting. That's very interesting. How is that going?
It's going great. You know, I think initially before one would decide to make a book, you know, we always have these thoughts, like these hypotheticals. Oh, it's going to take too long, it's too much writing, it takes too much time. But when I actually got in the process of writing, it really I kind of just flowed with it in a sense where it's like I connected more with what I was writing, so it was less crucial on my time and on my just like wanting to do it.
So, does it have like stories about you, or stories or experiences?
Yeah, so
of life?
It's just a book of poetry. It's just poems about Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then there's a section, you know, about prayers.
Oh,
you know, since it's my first book, I just dial it down to different sections, and this is kind of like a good introduction, as you know, to me as an author.
And I think that's going to. I think this is like the start of a new beginning for you.
Yeah,
I believe so. I found very interesting, you know, people who write books.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, it's like, how can they just write and create something like that? You know.
Yeah.
It's to me, it's very interesting. I don't know the process of it. And so right now you have the things that you wrote, right?
Yeah.
And then what's the next step?
Yeah. So I already signed with Amazon Publishing.
Oh.
So I get everything I send it to the editors and basically the team that's working to publish my book. And the last step is just to publish the book and get it going on 5 different platforms: Barnes & Noble, eBooks, Amazon, and then I believe ebook. I don't know if I mentioned that already. Then there's 2 other platforms that I kind of forgot about.
Are you the one who finds the publisher, or they try to?
They find it. So when I signed with Amazon Publishing, they kind of put a whole team of people together with me, and then I received a phone call, and they just said, "Hey, this is your project manager," just referring to like, you know, I'm the person who's going to be helping you with your book process and getting it edited.
But you went to them, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Online, I found it online. It's called Amazon Publishing. I was just doing research online one time randomly, and yeah.
No, okay. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh man, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the have you found a name for the book?
Yeah, it's called The Living Water.
The Living Water.
Yeah.
Oh, and when is it going to come out?
Whenever I decide that it's.
Or you're gonna.
Yeah. So it's basically my choice whenever I decide that it's up to par with what I want the book to look like.
So you decided
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Mhm.
I guess I always I like writing,
Mhm.
not all the time, but sometimes in poetry. I have a book. It's got a lot of small poems.
Mhm.
I don't when you said that it's going to be about poems.
Mhm.
I thought about the book and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
and I have that book.
Yeah.
It's a nice book. That book is also, I don't know if it's going to be the same, but it's got poems,
Mhm.
but it is also related to God. It's got some
Mhm.
Bible verses in it, and it's
Okay.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'm to be honest, I'm happy for this episode.
Yeah.
I'm also a little nervous because this is my first episode
English.
in English,
Yeah.
and for the people that's watching us, if I have an accent, I'm sorry. English is my second language, and then yeah. So a lot of things has happened, during the past weeks,
Mhm.
and I wanted to ask you about something. I wanted to
Okay.
know your thoughts on this whole thing of immigration.
Okay.
Yeah, and then obviously I'm from one culture, you're from another culture,
Yeah.
and then my thing with everything that's going on
Mhm.
right now, it's it's not the right. You saw the protest, right?
Yeah.
And they went into the freeway, they
Yeah.
were graffitiing. They were in some parts they were looting,
Yeah.
and then from your perspective, different culture.
Mhm.
Um, what do you can be honest.
Yeah.
My goal is for this channel to bring people who are always honest.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about people are gonna hate me. Right now there are people that hate me because of the way I see things.
Yeah.
The way I see all of this. I receive. I don't want to say hate, but hate
Yeah.
from my own culture, from my own people, because it's like, oh, guys, this is not the way
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
But what do you think about all of this? Do you think?
Honestly, I have a couple of very close friends that are very, they're skeptical, they're scared, they're frantic, and this whole thing has put them in a very emotional state, like, oh, for them it's like, I have to keep what I have secured because now I'm in the US. And some of my friends are first generation, citizens, and their parents are immigrants. And
Yeah.
so that's what most of my friends are dealing with right now. And I'm put in a stance where I'm American, I'm white. I'm in a US, and in a standard like that, I'm, I do have some white, I get things easy because I'm white. Just by being white in America, that's how we're perceived. So my whole take on it is I understand how people feel, and it's if I was put in that position, I would be scared too, I think it's just, I think it's a good time to just empathize with them and feel for them, I'm not too sure if I have too much to say on that topic specifically. But the only thing I could say is that it's important for us to empathize with each other, and no matter what culture or background, and just sort of like act with wisdom in the best way we can, even though
My thing
Yeah.
is that we gotta learn how to collaborate with each other. Even though we have we have different cultures, right? Like I was saying, why we have Hispanic, we have African Americans, we have Asian. We share the same land.
Yeah.
Right? We share the same laws.
Yeah.
The same laws applies to all of us, right? In different ways they apply to us, but my thing is that we gotta learn how to what's the word? I had the word right. How to live together.
Yeah.
What's the word? I had it.
Collaborating, uniting.
Yeah, we have to,
Connecting.
learn how to coexist. That's the word. We gotta learn how to coexist.
Yeah.
And my thing is that even though we are different cultures, we want the same thing, right? We all agree that we want peace, right?
Yeah.
We want safe streets. We have a good environment, We want the ability to afford things, to live, to go and explore, and those principles applies to everyone, right?
Yeah.
And that's my thing. My stand on politics is that I look for those things first,
Yeah.
right? Because we are living together. Second, my generation, the people that they're going to come after me, right? My kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, right? I wouldn't want them to live in fear. I wouldn't want them to live in a community where they're not going to be safe.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. And I believe that applies to me, applies to your culture, to other cultures.
Yeah.
Right. And then my whole thing, what I'm trying to do is, come on, guys, let's work it out. Let's work together.
Yeah.
Right. To find common ground and to find solutions that apply to all of us.
Yeah.
Of course, we have hate,
Yeah.
right? And we cannot fight hate with hate.
No.
Like the phrase, you cannot fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
What's it going to get you?
Yeah.
More fire. So I don't know if there's a verse in the Bible, right, that talks about that, right?
Yeah. I think it talks about also like love your enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah. And basically that's my whole thing, and all I wanted is I wanted to see the situation from a different lens, meaning from a different culture, which that's why I wanted to bring you on the show.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's of course we can talk about this and go on, but how's your relationship with God? I don't know. I also want to talk about God and try to. My whole thing is I want to bring guidance to my generation, the generation after us, because that's how you build a good community.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I guess my initial question would be how is your relationship with God?
Right now, in my perspective, my relationship with God is good.
Okay.
Maybe from God's perspective, it's not so good because compared to His morality, compared to His standard of morality, I guess that's not good.
I guess that's the beauty of it, because we are saved by grace.
Yeah.
Right. And then I guess that's my relationship with God is like you said, it's not the greatest according to what God would want. I don't think it's I don't think it's great. But I'm obviously struggling with a lot of things, and what I also want to bring to my community is to tell them, hey, it's time to come to Jesus, right? Because there is a lot of fear right now in our community with this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then what I can say is, hey, come to God.
Yeah.
Give your frustration, give your worries to God, because He's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
I see in my community, and not only in my community but in other communities, and then how the younger generation are not very familiar with God. I don't know if you would agree with me, but I see that they are far from God,
Yeah.
and then that's something that I'm fighting myself on that issue, not the issue, but on that side, because I want to bring people to God, and I don't know how to do it, honestly. And I see you with your channel, and it's like you are doing that.
Yeah.
And is there anything that I could do to do that? And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
On that situation that wants to bring people to God.
Yeah.
But there's what advice could you give us?
That's a very good point you made too. I think a lot of people want to do God's work, but they don't know how to, and they don't know where to start. With me specifically, I think it's different for everybody because everybody has a different calling by God. You know, a lot of people are called to different ways of bringing people to God. Like some people can bring people to God by delivering them from demons. Some people can bring people to God by just loving, and some people can bring people to God by their way of speaking and ministering. So there's different segments and different ways that one can bring somebody to Christ. But what's centered in all of that is love. And in the Bible it does say, but first of all I command you to love. And when you have that love in your heart, that pure heart, love in your heart for God and for people in your community, I believe the more you get into prayer, the more you get into fasting, the more you get into Bible study, God will pull people into your life, and He'll pull you in certain situations where you feel you have to speak, and God will speak through you to help people come to Him. And I think that's what He did for me, more so just through my experience with Him, having a spiritual experience with Him when I first started believing in Christ from being an atheist.
Oh, tell us about that. Tell us
Okay.
your testimony.
Okay, so I used to be an atheist. I was I had a very high ego, and what I mean by that is just loathing and self-importance. Basically, I was just the center of my life and nothing else. My vision of the world and myself was collected in how I felt. It was collected in me being the center. And that's a huge sign of just ego. And thinking of yourself in a way that like, oh, I'm the sun and everything around me is, so your vision of life is very dimmed when you have that kind of, that big of an ego. And more so to that point though, I was very depressed and I had a lot of demonic hold. So I would deal with a lot of like voices in my head, you know, telling me things like, oh, you know, nothing matters anyway, so why continue living, you know, or what does it matter to continue going to school if you're, you know, you could die at any moment, or, you know, what does it matter to continue living if all you're going to do is just work for the rest of your life and then die? So I was thinking of life in a way where nothing really mattered, but everything mattered. Like how nothing had any reason, but there was no reason for me to be in it. And if that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess that's a lot of people are in that situation.
Yeah.
Right.
And I believe that that's just the heart's point. Like, people are desperate. That just reveals, I had this sense of desperation in that moment. I desperately wanted to know more.
I think that everyone wants that. Yeah. Everyone wants to be loved.
That's true. Yeah.
And if you see humanity in from a bigger angle, from a different picture, the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the Bible says that nothing can make the man happy but God.
Yeah.
You know, and if you think about it, it's like every man wants to be loved.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Every man wants that sensation to be loved. You know, and then that's why if you ask anyone, do you have a girlfriend? They're either going to say yes or no.
Yeah.
And if you ask them, do you want to have a girlfriend? Everyone is going to say yes. You know, and then if you take the girl out of the equation,
Yeah.
you can find that love with God.
Yeah.
Like that's what I experienced. You know, that's what I have experienced, and then I guess that desperation it comes from that. You know.
Yeah.
They wanted to be loved. They wanted to learn more about things, and then not my issue. I keep saying issue, but anyway, my thing is that I don't know how to approach people that are in that situation. I don't know what to tell them, and then how do you do it? Have you encountered any situations where when someone is in that position?
Do you mean the position where somebody just like looks at like a human like phileo love and they're desperate for phileo love but they don't understand the agape love? How I would explain it to them is just put them in the eyes. What if you fell in love with that person and you gave them absolutely everything in the world, and then about a month or two later they just dipped? That would break somebody because you gave them everything and you fell in love with them. To have that sort of feeling and emotion for somebody on earth is a lot. It can suck somebody out of life or it can breathe the life in them. And how I would tell them, how I would basically explain to them that God's love is more, is because God never leaves. You can have His love and it can fill you completely without you even having to give anything. So basically what I'm saying is, when you love God, when God loves us, there's nothing is going to be taken from us. Like, we're guaranteed it for eternity, for life. But when you fall in love with a person, it's just risky.
Yes.
Right.
And topics like these are things that I like, in the sense of I want to give some type of guidance to the people that's going through these situations.
Yeah.
People that are going to the same situations I once was in.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very interested in politics, God. I don't want to say religion because religion, it can mean a lot of things, but the relationship between God and men and women, and how to build a better community for everyone, not excluding anyone.
Yeah.
Because, like the Bible says, we are His son. We are made in His image, and then I think I'm learning that phrase. We are made in His image, and then on that phrase, I'm starting to see people with that lens, and be like, oh, God's creation.
Yeah.
And that's helping me to have sympathy, to love people.
Yeah.
And basically that's the reason why I created this channel, this YouTube channel, because I social media can be either it can destroy you or it can lift you up.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
And I want to be on that side. I want hey, I want to reach people and be like, hey, come on, you got things to live for life is beautiful, and which that's something I believe. Life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you agree that?
I believe that too.
Oh yeah.
I think more to that. I think on the topic of relationships and God, something that always comes in between that can either that derails the relationship with self, because first you have to have a good relationship with yourself before you can have a good relationship with God, because how can you understand God's love if you can't even love yourself? How can you receive yourself? I mean, how can you accept God into your life if you don't even know who you're looking at every morning in the mirror? A lot of people are dealing with dissociation from self and identity disorders through the eyes. They see themselves in the eyes through social media. Okay, how is this person going to perceive me? How do my friends perceive me? What can I say so I'm liked? So a lot of things I feel like, especially in these times, are just, it's people act in a way that's acceptable. They act in a way that where people can perceive them in a certain way, but they don't actually know themselves. And I think the more that we fall into ourselves is the less we receive from God, and are able to receive from God, because then that's like, it's like you're closing yourself out from reality and you're going into yourself. So the first step is to love yourself, to learn who you are. And only by that you're able to learn who God is and who God has called you to be. Because you can read it in the Bible, you can read who God has called you to be or who God is, but to truly receive it through your heart and truly heal from trauma, truly heal from relationships and brokenness, is through receiving it within your heart first. So that I believe is a first crucial step, and then you're able to love other people. It's all a ripple effect. Once you work on yourself, once you work within yourself, then you're able to receive external, love from others. Then you're able to receive spiritual guidance from God, and so with like relationships and God, the most crucial thing is just to know your identity first.
Yeah, I see a lot of people in that situations, and sometimes I don't know what to tell them, and particularly because I'm not right with God, and then in the sense of I don't think I'm in the right or position to lift someone up, and give them word of life, word of advice, and then that's something that I keep struggling with, and then I also see a lot of what's the word? I want to use the word frustration between the relationship with women and men, especially in like especially in romantic relationships. I think a lot of people don't put God first in the relationship, and that's something that I also want to bring to them, and tell them, hey, if you put God in the center of your relationship, one, God is going to bless it. You're going to have a fruitful relationship, and then and with that also you can make a community a better place, because you are creating strong families, and I believe that strong families are necessary to have strong communities in a strong country. So that's how do you see relationships nowadays.
Yeah. So I had experience in the past where relationships were not Christ-centered, whether it be friendships or romantic relationships. And most of the time than not, they're very unequally yoked. Like, in the sense of, you know, the beliefs differ, then there's, you know, more frustration, then there's lack of authentic communication and ability to truly connect, because when the beliefs differ and, you know, the different views differ, then there's just more disconnection. So with that specifically, there are situations in the past where I really had to fight. So I'll give you guys like a little testimony or something. So in the past, I'm not sure, like a little over a year ago, I was in this romantic relationship and I fell very hard for this person. You know, I fell really in love with him. And, but at the same time, I had a great relationship with God. And I still have my relationship with God. I still love God. But, so when the beliefs differed, and so then at that point, it's like, okay, I really like this person, I really love them, but they do not have the same views as me. They don't, you know, it's unequally yoked. I decided to act off of emotion instead of being obedient to God's word because of emotion. I got so caught up in emotion that in the end, it only led me to just be disappointed and, you know, have to heal from certain things, from trauma or whatever. So from that experience, I learned that God in the center God in the center of relationships is key to peace. It's key to true healthy love. Only by God's love you're able to understand what love is, and there is unhealthy love and there's healthy love. Sometimes love can be perceived as an attachment or as a give and take, but love, when you receive the love of God, you understand that it is an act of grace, undeserved favor, but also it's peaceful, and there's joy, and there's light, and there's direction. Because when you have light, you have direction, and you see where you're going. So in some relationships, if it's unequally yoked, not in some, in all relationships that are unequally yoked, if one person really loves God and is really on fire for God and the other person is not, it really just leaves this gaping hole in the center of that relationship that can never get truly filled. Because if the other person doesn't desire God and the other person does, that other person over time will become like a heavy weight to the person who really loves God. Because then they want to do all this for God, they're on fire for God, they want to minister to people, but the other person doesn't believe in that, you know? So and then if that person is in love with God, in love with that person at the same time, then that leaves like an emotional attachment. So then you're like being held down because you really like that person, so you want to, you know, you want to relate with them or whatever. So then it's just holding your relationship with God down, and it's not letting God flow completely. It's not letting that person who desires God do God's work to the utmost potential because of that other person. And that other person's lack of desire for God. And yeah, I think.
Yeah. I that's what I see. And then obviously I'm trying to get on the position where I can feel comfortable and tell them, hey, you're not doing this right. You know, you should. For example, I have a niece.
Yeah.
she's in a relationship, and then she goes to church,
Yeah.
but the guy doesn't.
Yeah.
And then my advice to her would be that, right?
Yeah.
Find someone that believes in God, that
Yeah.
it's not, that doesn't have different views on
Yeah.
life than you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I don't feel that I'm in the right position to tell them that, because I myself struggle with that too. And I used to have a relationship. I used to. This is going to sound bad, but I used to leave God for people.
Yeah.
And then, of course, now that I'm older, it's like
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I used to play the drums at my church, and then sometimes I miss it. I'm like, I mean, I wish I, could be playing the drums. And then the reason why I stopped playing the drums was because I decided to leave God, to love this person, a person that had different views than me, believe different things than I did, and then at the end of the day, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like you said, the person
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
The only thing and the only person that I have is God.
Yeah.
The only one that hasn't left is
Yeah.
God. It was hard for me to understand, but as I grew older, I was able to understand it.
Yeah.
Life, has this thing that it will show you the things that you have done, and it will like it will let you know that this happened was because you did this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and because of it, the experience I have, I want to share it.
Yeah.
And I wanna, especially with my generation.
Yeah.
And especially with my nieces, with my nephew, they're very small, and I wanna be that person that they can look up to and be like, oh, uncle said this, uncle told me this, and and then I want them to see me for that, a person that has experience, and it's giving them advice on how to live life, what to avoid, and yeah. So, and just like them, I feel that I can reach a lot of people through social media.
Yeah. When what you're saying in the beginning, that you want to tell your niece that she should find somebody who goes to church, and that should be something of importance to her, and that you feel like you're struggling with that because you feel like your relationship with God isn't where you want it to be, and that you don't have enough to even give her advice. I first off want to say that we're all in that. That's the main thing about people who love God and who desire God. The more we get closer to God, the more sinful we're going to feel. The more we get closer to God, the more dark we're going to feel. And the closer we get to God, the more we're going to struggle. And so my thing is like, you have a testimony. You experienced what it's like to love somebody who doesn't love God, and to give up, doing the drums at church, or
Serving. Serving a church.
Yeah, serving your church for a person who doesn't love God, and that's your testimony that you can share with your niece, and maybe that's something that she might experience if you don't share your testimony with her, or it's maybe something that, you know what I mean, like your testimony can be used to help other people just block those obstacles and not even experience those things. They can learn from your testimony. They can learn from your experience. And I think that's the best thing about like how everybody has certain experiences. We're able to share with people to help people not deal with what we had to deal with, or not go through what we had to go through. Because then us doing that is guiding that person to a heightened wisdom with God, you know, and they're like, oh, okay, so God has given me this advice through this person, maybe I shouldn't do that, you know, and that's another reason how God can speak through us, is just by us sharing our testimonies with other people to help them on their relationship with God.
I say this, but sometimes I doubt God. You know, sometimes I don't know if He's there.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people go through that too.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you've been in that situation.
Oh, of course, yeah. I think we all go through that, you know. It's taken me a long time to truly be in the position that I am in now with God. I dealt with a lot of doubting, just coming from atheism to Jesus. That's a path in itself. I went through a whole path of doubting God to falling on my knees and accepting Him within my heart and repenting for everything I did. And I was more so repenting for doubting Him. As an atheist, you know, because you're doubting a creator, that you're relating with the different natural objects created by God, created by intelligence, is there's marks to everything, almost like His thumbprint. And so everything is natural. And we also have the ability to create. It says in the Bible, man was created in the image of God. So if we are created in the image of God, that means we have a lot of power and potential to us.
Well, remember, there's a verse in the Bible that says that the same power that resurrected Jesus lives within us.
Yes. Yeah.
Imagine that. Peter,
Yeah.
you know how after after Jesus was crucified, He came back to life. He had a conversation with Peter. Then Peter went on to spread the gospel, and then he was also doing miracles. You know, the power of Jesus was within him. You know, he was, you know, Jesus was walking with Peter.
Yeah.
And then I relate a lot with Peter because if you think about it, Peter was someone that was not slow to anger. You know, he would, you know, he was a fighter.
Yeah.
And then I believe he would get mad very easily.
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
And then he also struggled doubting, you know, because when he was in the sea and then he said, "If you Jesus command me to go there, you know," and he started walking and his faith cracked.
Yeah.
And then and sometimes I think of it like this. He lived with Jesus.
Yeah.
He saw Jesus. He ate with Jesus.
Yeah.
And he doubted Jesus.
Yeah.
And if he did us that having experienced that life with Jesus, we're going to, you know, doubt Him.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
And then I lost the track of the conversation. What was I talking? But yeah, so it makes me think.
Yeah.
I mean, we are humans, and I think we are trying to do our best. You know.
Yeah, I think another thing with that too is we always have to remember that when Satan fell from heaven, before he was Satan, he was an angel. He was highly favored angel.
Yeah.
But he got so prideful and he wanted the seat of God. He wanted everything. So when he fell from heaven, he took a third of the angels with him. That is over 1 million angels if you think about that. So, and they became demons and evil spirits prowling this earth. In the Bible it says the devil is a prowling lion on the earth. He is a prince. He is the prince of this earth. So when you think about that, we're always going to deal with doubt, with fear, with struggle,